Hello, hello. Am I audible?
Yeah. Yes,
Arinata?
sir.
Okay, excellent. Now we're online. We're just waiting for there are quite a few people already here. Welcome, friends. I think Mr. Koteshwaran is still struggling to join in. His audio is not working. Mr. Koteshwaran, what you can do is you can log off from your computer, log off completely, and then log back in using your phone. So, Arinita, what you can do is you can WhatsApp him the link. Do you have the link?
Yes, I'm sharing it with him.
Okay, he's joining back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think now it should be audible.
Yes.
You just have to put your camera a little,
Is this
maybe
fine?
just a little further. Huh.
Yes.
Or maybe just focus a little bit. Yes, this is
Right.
this.
Okay, friends, if you can all hear us, say yes in the chat, and then Arinita will take over. I think we're good to go. Arinita, go right ahead.
Okay. Okay. Firstly, thank you everyone for joining us today for this webinar. We're very excited to have two very, very prominent journalists with us who've been reporting primarily on environment and especially wildlife related topics over the years. So I would like to firstly introduce Mr. Padmanabhan Opuli, who is the environment editor of Times of India, Tamil Nadu. And we also have with us Mr. C.S. Koteshwaran, who is the Bureau Chief of DT Next. And I think we would love to hear a little bit about the two of you. So, Opili sir and Koteshwaran sir, if you can just maybe a slight introduction about yourself. I mean, you've been, both of you have been in this field for well over decades now. So, I think best to hear from the experts themselves.
Yeah. Thank you, Arnita. Thanks, WTI, for giving us this opportunity to share our experience. And yes, as you rightly said, I've been in the profession for the past 32 years. This is my 32nd year, which is in progress. Well, it was a very lucky to cover and sustain on a sustained basis, cover conservation issues, wildlife related issues, forest related issues, environment related issues. So it has given me an exposure to understand nature, and how we can coexist with nature is one of the basic lessons we learned. I mean, both of us. I hope Koti will agree on that. Well, it's quite interesting also. We get to see a lot of places where normally people are first not allowed. This is one thing. On the other side, we also know the problems in that area, like the forest food soldiers may not have the required facilities. So when we write about that, there is a positive development. I just want to share one small recent experience. The anti-poaching watchers in the Tamil Nadu state have been outsourced for the past 1 year. Already they were drawing a very, very poor salary as per our daily wages act. So the story was about how they are struggling and how the idea of outsourcing has further, brought in difficulties for these people. So after the story appeared, there was a slight, I won't say there's a great improvement, but the State Forest Department increased their salary from 12,500 to 16,500. Of course, there was a deduction by the person who was recruiting them, the agency, but still there was an hike. So that kind of satisfaction we get when we write issues pertaining to wildlife conservation and forests. So this kind of several such experiences both of us have, using our story to make things move further and make the policy makers to rethink and come out with a better policy for the conservation. Here, I would like to ask my colleague and my counterpart, Mr. Koti Suran, to take over and share his his experience. With your permission, Arnita.
Yes, of course. Please do go ahead, Kuri sir.
Yeah. Thank you, WTI, for this opportunity, because I feel that such interactions is the need of the hour. We know the kind of stress that the pachyderms and the jumbos undergo. And I personally thank Mr. Opili sir, who has always been there with me as a senior, always helping me. And also thank Mohit sir for this logistical support and this warm welcome. About me, myself, I've been a lawyer by graduation. Viscom, I took visual communication, but I'm more focused into wildlife journalism. Though I'm in the political, I've been into the political reporting and take care of the bureau and all those things. Wildlife is something which always passionates me about. It's more about learning process than coming to a conclusion or having more about experience. And particularly elephants as such has always been a very fascinating subject. Like we have seen Dr. Raman Sukumar, Ajay Desai, then people like of that standards, we all grew up, at least I grew up watching them, and how they are Yanai Dr. K. So having seen all these people, and now WTI taking up elephant conservation along with the corridor project is something which is not only excites me, which I think WTI is trying to take it to the student community and also the other stakeholders. So that is something very crucial at this point of time. About my experience into wildlife, I would say I've been like a regular participant of synchronized bird census, or this water hole census. We used to call some 15 years back like that. So all these things, maybe though a regular routine work, it continues to not only keep ourselves, as Opili sir said, gives you the opportunity to go to the remote areas, talk to the community, and understand the ecological problems that mushroom every often, and finally it doesn't goes, what do you say, solutions are still an issue, particularly with the elephants, because the corridors are something it's so complicated, where even ecologists or conservation scientists find too difficult what is a corridor. Maybe if this is a corridor for 50 years or maybe 100 years, or because we don't have this kind of data science, which is very not only voluminous, but it has to be in depth. So I think that is a key area where research organizations like WTI or the government of India and state government bodies will have a role to play. But we as a journalist, I think we have to continuously work along with these NGOs and research organizations, so that, like my senior rightly pointed out, I think we do have the opportunity to interact with the policymakers, the legislators, and at times judiciary also, because there are some articles which are being published in papers, and there are several good examples of High Court and Supreme Court taking suo motu actions on that. I think a lot of media pressure is also there in retrieving these elephant corridors. So I think I'm looking forward for more interaction through this session, and also share my whatever experience I've gone through.
Thank you so much for that. To start off, I was thinking we could maybe have a general conversation between us, of course, and later we would love to hear some questions and answers. Like we will have a Q&A session with all of you present here. Maybe the last 15 minutes we can keep for that session. But to start off, I think it'll be great to maybe hear from both you, Kote sir and Opili sir, generally talking about the media's influence on public perception and policy. So, say for example, if you can give us a little bit of an insight into how, say, the media how they cover human elephant conflict, and how does it influence public opinion and attitude towards wildlife conservation in India.
Basically, there should be a restraint from the media. We should not go gaga and create more nuisance to the forest officials who are trying to, when it comes to pushing a stray elephant back into the forest. This is one of the common problems, especially with television channels. They want to show the animal movement and create more kind of a stress both to the animal as well as the people who are trying to push it into the forest. That kind of restraint is always, we, the print media, that way, we don't create panic, we don't create kind of sensation. So that restraint always is needed But at times they look at their TRP and their values. I mean, it's a different ball game. Still, if the reporter wants to do it in such a way, I think it can be done in a more, responsible way. That's what my personal feeling is. Otherwise, the media role in today's situation, especially the human-animal conflict, is phenomenon. It has taken both the people as well as the policymakers to the next level. There was a lot of awareness. Still, despite all these things, you would have seen a month ago one of the German tourists from Valparai was trying to go closer to an elephant, trying to pass through an elephant which is standing on the side of the road. Even after he was stopped by the forest guards and the local forest officials, that kind of negligent attitude is still prevailing, even, and not only with foreigners, even our own people also at times do. I'm not talking about any particular state. It's happening all over the country. It's a common thing. And we have heard in Coimbatore, people used to literally lure elephants with poke net, and it's all wild elephants which used to come to a temple on the forest. I mean, above the forest. They used to stand at the foothill and attract the elephants, but thereby, creating more nuisance to both the animal as well as risking their own life. This attitude has to change. That's where we come into play the picture. We educate the people, we create awareness. Don't do it. Please avoid feeding wildlife while you are traveling. Those kind of information, when we reach out to people, obviously there will be slow improvement. Over a period of time, there is, but still we need more that kind of awareness among the people. Yes, Koti.
So actually, I would like to supplement to what Mr. Oakley has said. See, the kind of situation right now we are in, I would say there's a biotic pressure happening everywhere, whether it is a urbanized city or a rural area which is on the fringes of the forest or a tiger reserve, whatever it is. For example, even in Chennai, if you see the number of stray dogs mauling people, or even the stray cows or the cows which are left on the roads assaulting people, has been increasing. So conflict, in the sense, we are one side we are talking about the elephant conflict and things like that, but the problem is the policymakers on the whole fail to understand the animals in detail, whether it is a stray cattle or a stray dog or an elephant. Okay, we can't compare that a stray dog with that of an elephant, because elephant is a more complicated animal and a more giant that has to be studied in detail. Because handling a stray dog might be an easier thing, but the problem I see is there is a general concept that is happening, that the public are started hating towards the animals. So one side we have the animal lovers, policymakers standing towards the conservation and things like that. On the other side, we have a community or a set of journalists saying that this is a rogue elephant, this is a man-eater, this is a killer elephant. All these things are also coming in. The problem here is, I think, there is a complete lack of balance. Like, for example, it is time for us to inculcate the good old basics into the academic system as well as the young minds. Like, for example, if you have to avoid the forest during night hours, yes, you have to avoid. But the problem here is, now on the city side, we are trying to explore about the nightlife. But whereas the tribal people or people who know about the forestry, they advise that it is not the right time to venture into the jungle during the late hours. And how to take chances while negotiating an elephant corridor or passing through a tiger reserve. All these things are not only basics, we are just slowly moving away from them, because a lot of pressure, biotic pressure, resorts are coming up, hotels are coming up, businesses are coming up, all inside the core areas and the buffer areas. Though there are restrictions, but still I see a lot of violations. And these violations, people take things for granted, whether it's taking a selfie in front of an elephant, or trying to chase an elephant, or trying to do reels or TikTok. So there is a complete, what has to be practiced and what is being done by the society or the youngsters or the common people. There is this huge mismatch. So that becomes a very serious issue, and journalists and conservationists, I think we have a very crucial role to play there. Because elephants, for some people, they think elephant is a subject which is literally seen in a temple, blessing people and taking alms and like that. It's not that. Elephant has been like, we call them as a lord of the forest. For the simple reason they can create a forest, they can create a riverine habitat. Their role is so important. But the problem is here we get alienated, or we do not teach our people, or that basic science is something we are missing. So once when that discipline is said, how to deal with the elephant, even if an elephant is at 10 feet, how to avoid it, or how to treat it, how to understand why an elephant is important inside a forest, what is the role played by it, and how dangerous it can be for you to just go near an elephant, whether you can take a picture or go near to it or not. Then what about the zoonotic infections, particularly elephants? We have seen in case of temple elephants where they are prone to asthma and other kinds of TB and all those things. So if there is some zoonotic infection transferring from elephants to humans or humans to elephants, are we prepared for that kind of a parasite infection, or in case of any virus outbreak? So these things are something which the policymakers have to think in future. But at present, if you see, even giving the little bit of reserve area, because you know that any elephant, they need the home range to go around, and this is a cycle. They feed in one particular forest, then they migrate from that area, then they go to another forest, then it's an yearly cycle, or once in 6 months they come again to the same habitat. So that particular corridor or that particular movement should be protected. And I think though there are rules and things like that, but still when it comes to implementation or people participation or understanding about that, still there is a lot of scope to be improved. And I think for that, journalist has to be sensitized. There is no doubt about that. Particularly, as my previous Opli said, there are a lot of insights that is not being given to the public. Like, for example, the kind of headlines, the kind of either you're celebrating an elephant, or you are unnecessarily glorifying an elephant, or you are sometimes coming out saying this is a rogue elephant, this is a killer, this is a man-eater, or this is something against the humankind. So it has to be facts, and it has to be left with that, and the reader should take a call. So that kind of reporting, I think it has to evolve more into that, where you understand the animal. And for example, see, sometimes when if you see that there's a particular elephant, say let's assume E18, and E18 has become a habitual crop raider, and E18 has lost the fear of humans, or it likes to assault human beings, or there have been at least some 5-6 deaths due to the E18 or whatever, the elephant. Then it is time for us to capture and relocate it, or to study the behavior of the animal. Right now we do have SOP, standard operating procedures, but it is only applicable for the forest department. But for the community, but for the people who are residing around, those things are not applicable. So I think that is adding more problem to the issue.
1 minute.
No, absolutely. That's, I think, a great insight into what the other side faces as well. Because for us as readers, when we are reading a article that says, elephant goes rampant in a temple, we are obviously that our first instinct is probably to think about the people involved, not necessarily taking into also consideration. Of course, human lives will sort of have that precedence over one elephant's life in this situation. But the way it is reported, the way it's sensationalized into saying, it's not a rogue elephant. Also, the fact-checking aspect is also very, very important, which most of the time in today's sensational, your digital platforms, and they just look for a quick story that could probably not even be close to what the actual story is, for sure. But in those lines again, from your perspective, what would be the challenges that you as journalists face when you have to report such conflict situations or situations like this?
See, this is a very important question. I see this one is for the simple reason, of late what we are getting from South India, particularly from Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra, we are seeing a lot of elephants moving away from their typical range areas. The problem here is, what I'm saying is, they are moving away. This version comes with the forest department or the revenue department or the local body. So the local body people, whether it is a municipal chairman or a mayor or an elected representative MLA, they say that the elephant came into their area, but we do not know the past. Maybe 100 years back then, whether it is a shola or it is a grassland, we don't know. We are losing forest left, right, and center. So that is happening at one side. On the other side, we are increasing we are seeing a small pockets of increase in elephant population. So where is the quality forest for them to maintain their life cycle? So this is first problem. The second problem here, what I see is the understanding, as I said earlier. The understanding is such that to immediately name the elephant, say Arisi Komban or Asai Tambi, or some name, some controversial name, like how a rowdy or a rogue is being portrayed. Sometimes they give a name, and they gave that this fellow is a killer. This elephant is can bring down the people. This elephant is like is shown as a sort of a monster which can actually play havoc for an entire village or for a community. So that kind of reporting starts coming into seeping into. So we like, for example, me and Opali, though we fight with each other, I always reach up to him for asking whether to approach this story like this, or what will be the impact on that. So because the moment when you portray an elephant in a very bad limelight, see, you have to understand an elephant is an animal. It's not like civilized human being. So it is for us to react and respond, not for the elephant to react and respond. How we respond matters. So the entire mechanism, first is the people like to read something very scary, or some sort of a negative story or something like that, because they have not seen an elephant, but they like to hear the narration of how an elephant killed a 20-year-old girl, or maybe a 40-year-old man, how it was chased down. So these kinds of dramas or the masala concepts is an issue, and particularly now in the digital era. So what happens, as you ask the right question, what is the problems we are facing is, we are facing problem from these kinds of media organizations. Sometimes, see, media, I don't want to restrict it to only to print, TV, or see, even a social media influencer is an issue. So social media influencers say already this elephant has killed 3 people and now it is on a rampage. We do not know how many lives are going to be lost. He will be talking from the area, and you can see the people, some 50 people, 100 people literally standing bed, and a few family which have lost their dear ones crying. So first is understanding the issue there at the local, and you have to maintain the balance is very, very tough. See, for example, I cannot go convince a family which has lost a life due to a elephant conflict. For them, the elephant is a killer. They want to try that elephant or bump it off. So that will be the mindset of that family which is affected. But the problem here, what happens is, prevention is better than cure. It is said, but unfortunately, what the policymakers are doing is they are only increasing the loss due to the human life. That is, the human compensation is being increased from 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, or from 10 lakhs to 12 lakhs. In case of it is a crop loss, again the compensation per acre or hectare is increased. I think how to prevent it should be the primary focus, which the policymakers or the elected MLAs or representatives across the country, I would say, they are not taking it so serious. This is not only about elephant conservation, elephant being a flagship species. If you are able to protect the jumbo, you are not only protecting the elephant, you are protecting the entire habitat where you are dependent on for that timber, river, drinking water, your air that you breathe. Everything is like a package. We don't understand the carbon value of it. We don't understand the net zero concept behind it. We don't understand the pristine water, which is the elixir of all life. So these are the complex subjects that the policymakers fail to understand. I think people like WTI should give more impetus, more campaigns, and also educated the other side of media journalists who are on the other spectrum. So, for example, it's not that I know Mr. Oakley. I can, even in my dreams, I can promise you, he will strike a balance. He won't underestimate the loss of a human life. At the same time, he won't call an animal as it's a rogue. It is animal which has to be cleared or culled. It is not that easy. You have to strike a balance. I think striking the balance is the biggest problem what we face.
Well, what Cody said is, I totally agree. Another point which in my 30 years of visiting some of the interior forest areas, my observation is 30 years ago, some of the interior or the forest fringes where they had the private patta land, they were not used for any of the activity. They were lying either vacant or it will be wild growth. That will be wild growth. There was no cultivation, there was no harvesting, no people movement, nothing. As he rightly said, people used to avoid going out after dark. That is the kind of way of life we had 30 years ago. But subsequently, with the urbanization taking up very rapidly, these lands also had the value. Those days, which were lying disused or underutilized, have become more a resource for the landowner. So they started cultivating activities, especially the cash-rich crops like sugarcane, banana, and then your other related paddy, all those stuff. So this actually attracted all the wildlife, especially the elephant. And they started, when they look for alternative locations, when their corridors are affected, when their migratory paths are blocked. So they look for alternative sites, and they ended up coming closer to the human habitations where these kind of activities were happening. So there was no control, or there is no patta land. You can't do anything. Government cannot do it. It is a private owned. But there should be some kind of regulation. You should not go out after dark. You should not raise a crop again. Raising a crop is also a kind of very very ticklish issue between the government and the individual who is a landowner. So those kind of things, there should be a via media solution and understanding between the government and the private landowners to restrain themselves from avoiding these kind of crops at least half the year, 6 months of the year, maybe another 6 months, fine. So that kind of situation is prevailing, which needed to be addressed. Koti.
Sir, rightly said. I think to supplement to what has been discussed now, I think classification of land, that is one key area where there has to be more impetus. Whether it is we are bringing in advocates or conservationists or journalists or stakeholders or scientist community like WTI or NCF, IUCN, whatever. Because classification of land is one key area, because the fight for the land is so high. In fact, every other day we are seeing real estate related murders and things like that. And even the land which was earlier very barren or had very less estate value is now skyrocketed. So the problem here is there is no buffer area as such. What we call as a buffer, sometimes it becomes a proper land, or even the building is located on the foothills of the forest. So for an animal, there is no differentiation between a dry land or a shola forest or a revenue land or a Meikal Poromboku or a wetland. So for an animal, it's a space of land. So I think there is a lot of requirement that has to go into the redefinition of these barren lands and buffer areas are surrounding each and every forest. And another thing is recently last year, I think, when we were there for Yane Tiruvizha in Coimbatore, Dr. Vivek Menon and Raman Sukumar sir was discussing something. It was a very interesting subject. I'm just recalling that for our participants who are members who are listening to this. So they were basically discussing about the food habits, changing food habits of the elephants. So they say in Banarghata and in some pockets of Karnataka forest areas, a type of young elephants, they have started evolving to crop raid. So they think crop raiding is the life cycle. They think crop raiding is their regular life. So going into the shola forest or perambulating into the jungle, trying to eat different types of grasses or maybe some 100 types of different shrubs and branches or bamboo. So rather than that, they see this food as very palpable with a salt content in it, and it is easily chewable and it is readily available. You don't have to struggle. So the elephant is also trying to behave smart. But whether the government is trying to behave smart or whether the policymakers have a smart ideas, I don't have an answer. But here the problem is, once when the elephant comes into that area, we are there to brand the animal. But what are the solutions or the policies we have in future still remains an issue. Right now, NGOs like WTI or other wildlife NGOs have succeeded in going to courts and trying to get the elephant corridors. But I'm talking about the large scale, the habitat as a whole.
Well, as you rightly said, Koti, habitat degradation, number one, and the invasive alien species, which is again another major issue. Tamil Nadu has taken up the issue very seriously thanks to the intervention of some of the political parties and the Madras High Court. But still, one of the main reasons when we interact with people like Dr. Vivek Menon or Dr. Raman Sugma, they say habitat degradation is one of the major factors. Thanks to all the invasives which have taken over our forest areas, especially places like Kodaikanal. I was there last month, and Indian Gaur population is just like you can see them on the road in Kodaikanal town. You don't need to go any far. It is in the heart of the town. And it is most, I mean, they are not bothered about the humans. But how many of us will be very, comfortable seeing them, number one? How many of us will avoid any kind of, some dirty activities like trying to take a selfie and, some attack by the animal? Those things are to be to be discussed, because the effort to remove all the invasive species, especially in the hilly regions like our Uti, Kodaikanal, those areas, the work is in progress, but they are not doing it at a very, very bigger or a faster pace. In my understanding, I may be wrong also, please correct me, it's going very slow. I think there should be some faster effort, or rather on a military basis, we should move it fast so that we can clear a lot of areas, so that the local grass will come up, the straying of animals thereby reduce, which will also help in reducing human-animal conflict.
Yeah, that's true. But also, in terms of, taking this conversation further, and I think there are also some questions regarding this. How can, say, the media collaborate with conservation organizations or the department and other agencies to you know, amplify that message that we need to sort of use to sensitize people to, and of course avoiding the sensationalization of those stories. So are there any successful examples that you could maybe share with us around this?
Yes, definitely there are successful stories. See, conservationists today, even reporters are well informed thanks to experts, or thanks to conservationist people who share their experience on or off the record. That is very important, because for a journalist, see, they come with a journalism background. They are not into part of any forestry study or something to do with ecology, something like that. But they do have a different kind of skill set where they have access to the policymakers. See, one important crucial thing what Opuli sir was talking about is the habitat destruction and the alien species invasives. So particularly when NGOs or this research organizations, when they share that, okay, this budget what the government of India, the Tamil Nadu government or the Kerala government is allocating for this particular kind of rejuvenation of forests is very, very small, or there is a need for a scientist there is a need for somebody, ornithologist to be stationed there, because birds do play a major role in rejuvenating the destructed habitat. So when these kinds of insights are being discussed with journalists, or maybe some sort of sessions and seminars like this are organized by the research scholars, so definitely that is going to help, because they might at least talk to the opposition leaders and try to give them some points. Because Valparai, for example, is one area which is said it is infested with conflict. See, this is the kind of word that they use. So rather than celebrating Valparai as a rainforest, we call it as a elephant infested area, or what do you say? It's an area where it is prone for leopard conflicts. Because Valparai, we have recorded several cases of leopards, particularly killing down school children and kids. Particularly when school children or kids, they get killed in the process due to the encounter, the public mood and the political behavior is very, very difficult. Even at that point of time, it is not easy for any forester or any journalist to go convince them. So it is before we act and later we try to evolve. For example, the ration shops which we see, there is a periodical damage of ration shops in all these forest areas, whether it is Valparai or Nilgiri North or Bokkabaram or Varai Totam, so or Satyamangalam. So what the people think is that sometimes when they're waiting before the ration shop, then the ration person says, today there is no ration because elephant came and ransacked the ration shop. So you will get your rations only after 10 days. So immediately the elephant there becomes a villain. So we have to start looking for a smarter idea. Like for example, maybe door-to-door provision. An elephant, I'm sure, it is not going to raid a house for 5 kilos of rice or 10 kilos of rice. Only when you have some 2 tons of rice or 500 kilos of jaggery, the smell, the scent attracts the elephant, and they know which is the ration shop. They are smart. They are very, very smart when compared to us. They not only try to sling down a trench or cross over a railway track or break a electrocution that is disrupting their way. So they are becoming smarter day by day. So it is the problem with the policymakers, particularly we journalists or maybe the stakeholders, have failed to reach the push the government into one particular area. Where is a smart idea? Why don't you at least try giving rations on a door-to-door basis, or maybe make some other transit position? Maybe not a fixed ration shop. On maybe for every 10th day there can be a what do you say, a vehicle which is coming to the tribal pockets and deliver the ration and go.
Mobile.
So at least in that area, this is one small area, and there is another success area which has been proven. For example, in Valparai, they started introducing this camera which monitors the movement of elephants, and there is a signal being said, and through the signal, people know that there is an elephant. Particularly in Taimudi Estate, then other the top peak areas in Valparai. I think NCF worked on that, and they even got an international award and recognition for this. So these are like successful concepts. I think more money is also required for taking up these projects. At the same time, the policymakers, the government should start celebrating the scientists, particularly working on ecology. I think that impetus, we are not even celebrating people who are studying zoology or botany. Forget about wildlife. The basic, even that is being the policy makers have a problem there. We celebrate engineering so much, but finally we fail to understand the consequences what we are going to pay for the future generation. So I think this particular more kind of seminars, campaigns, more discussions, or maybe bringing in forestry and ecology into studies. For example, now we are talking about bringing chess into the academics. So Tamil Nadu government is working on that. Maybe some extra subject on wildlife management, maybe a small paper into schools and curriculums. I think those are the breakthroughs which is not only very cost effective, but also on a longer run, it will have a very good impact.
Yeah, what you said is right, Koti. Talking about the conservation part, many of my stories, when I was working with the Hindu, this is 10 years ago, we used to go around to Satyamangalam forest. There is one NGO called Tamil Nadu Green Movement. They took us how the quarries are functioning in inside the core areas of the tiger reserve. So when we wrote articles about it, and there was a positive development, the issue was taken suo moto by the National Green Tribunal, and they ordered the closure of those quarries which are not having the proper license. Same way, Dr. Krishnamurti, the famous Dr. K, elephant doctor, he was, I used to regularly interact with him those days, and he used to say, well, you were writing more about wildlife and conservation related issues, ecology. All right, fine. But have you ever thought of the pathetic condition in which the temple elephants were maintained in Tamil Nadu? Then he started giving me examples how this temple was having no vet care, nothing. That animal is one of the most intelligent animal which requires only your affection, nothing else. The moment it realizes that you are giving the fullest of your affection to that animal, it will obey like a child. This is what he told me. And he asked me to write about the condition of pathetic condition of temple elephants. I wrote about that, taking one example from one of the temples outskirts of Chennai city. It's a little far away from Chennai. So when the article appeared, the state government constituted a committee headed by Dr. Krishnamurti, and then Wildlife Crime Control Bureau Southern Region Deputy Director was one of the member secretary. They have been asked to look into the conditions in which the temple elephants are maintained in our temples, as well as those private elephants. Elephants owned by private people. those the committee was asked to submit a report, and that was the outcome for the rejuvenation camps for elephants in the Tamil Nadu state, which was spearheaded by Dr. Krishnamurthy, which was subsequently announced by the state government, and it is continuing till date every year. In that issue, I was able to play a very small role by writing the issue or focusing the issue and bringing it to the light. That way, I was so happy that this one small issue, which nobody would have thought very seriously. It's a temple elephant. It has everything. It has a nice place to stay, and every day it is getting well fed and then bathed twice a day. All those things. But in reality, it is not so. As he also was pointing out how they were having zoonotic diseases, like many of them used to have tuberculosis. This was detected during the camp, and they were provided treatment. Now, at least every temple is very, very sensitive to this issue. They are doing a better job. This way, the media, as you wanted to know how media can join hands with NGOs or individuals or experts like WTA to write about the issue, highlight the situation so that there is a change in the policy making.
Thank you, sir, for giving us that insight. Speaking on the same lines, I think if you can maybe give us a little bit of an idea about the consequences of, say, how we're talking about how working with NGOs or even policymakers sort of will help in move things in a more positive direction. But there are also consequences where this takes sort of a setback when again the angle of, say, sensationalized reporting comes into question, which might affect not just public perception, but also the policy at that policy making level. So can you give us a little bit of insight into that as well?
Yeah. By and large, in Tamil Nadu, the English newspapers, we don't use any negative language or the denigrating words about while talking about elephant that has stayed into human habitation, or a tiger or a leopard that stays closer to human habitation. There was always some restraint from our side. So it is mostly some of the vernacular media. I don't want to name them first. Number two, as Kodiswaran rightly said, in today's situation, it is a social media which is creating havoc. This is no way connected with any elephant-related issue. There was a call. This was in 2-3 years ago. There was a call from my immediate boss. He said, there was a video, I shared it with you. Can you just check? I said, I haven't seen the video. Then I went to the WhatsApp and saw the video. There was a container yard. There were half a dozen lions walking down that container yard. So he said, can you just check up, is it happening in Chennai? Is there any chance for lions at our Chennai port? By mistake, somebody brought it and they managed to come out, something like that. I was a little taken aback, but still, I have to answer him. So I called up the port trust chairman, who is known to me. So he was literally laughing. He said, I never expected this kind of question from you as a senior journalist. It's okay, you have asked me. This happened in Gujarat, one of the ports. I don't know the name of the port in Gujarat. This happened in Gujarat. And too, it was not a recent one. This happened 3 years ago. So tell your editor it's nothing to do with Chennai port. And I also was little taken aback because there is no possibility for the lions to walk like that. So this is a kind of, the social media is playing havoc. Of course, we know pretty well there is no chance for that kind of incident to happen at Chennai port. But still, we always, we don't want to take a chance. Just ignore it. No, it wouldn't have happened in Chennai. It would have been elsewhere. We can't do that. So the responsible onus is with the people who are posting these kind of videos. they don't bother. They do something randomly without realizing the impact. We journalists get caught into that in the crossfire, and we get pressurized. This is my personal experience. Koti.
Yeah. So very rightly said. The issue here, what we have to talk about or inculcate in future is about the quality of life. So everybody making money, wealth, creating asset, that is set aside. We are also having more degrees and things like that. But what about the quality of life? When quality of life comes, it's a major problem, and we are heading towards chaos. Delhi is the dirtiest city in terms of air pollution. Chennai waterways are completely becoming contaminated. All those things. So if you see the issue in larger, the solution is with our rainforest, where the elephants are the administrative animals. So the elephants can set things right. You're talking about people losing fertility and things like that. Where it is stepping at, it is because of our soil is slowly losing the soil fertility. So when it comes to the micromanagement of ecology or forest, when that is being taken care, I think the life is going to reverse bounce back. So there has to be at least the concept or the policy has to be not only about the elephant. So elephant is, of course, it's a flagship species we can think. I think first we have to start targeting on the elephant habitat. Then we have to make understand people talk about this. For example, if you see a YouTuber maybe is discussing about how the elephant came attacked and what were the consequences it has, rather than that, maybe if he can go more into about what a elephant role in making the soil fertility, so how the micronutrients enter into the soil and how it becomes part of the food pattern, then how it enters into the other substrate of life, and how it can regenerate the quality of life. If that can be discussed more in detail, one gentleman, I think Girish Radhakrishnan. So the person has rightly asked, so whether bringing in artificial intelligence will help to control these curves or to give solutions. I think. See, the problem here is not about artificial intelligence. There's nothing wrong in AI coming into it. First, the problem is with the basics and the fundamentals. The fundamentals itself is wrong. So, for example, if you want to have 500 elephants, you need a area which the 500 elephants can be supported. The forest cannot be like that of a zoo, which can be developed. The other day, I was seeing some politician spending quality time in a zoo where the elephant is kept inside a mirror glass, mirror kind of enclosure. So these things are and some other day I saw another video where a leopard cub is there in a parking. It's there in a carpet. See, the problem is you're not understanding where to keep what and how it has to be protected. So aesthetics, flamboyancy, extravagancy, artificial intelligence, software, computer managed, camera traps are there. But what is the basic is these animals need space. If you don't have space, how are you going to create space? Once when you create space, that space is going to give you quality air. It is going to increase our life. What I'm talking is about the elephant is there, fine, but the longevity, the length of life of human beings is becoming reduced. In people in Delhi, they say that the quality of life not only deteriorates, the entire lifespan is coming down. So the solutions are there, create more reserves, or maybe within urban areas, creating more water holes, creating more green space. So that has to be there in policy. Once that policy comes in, first protection should be for the immediate corridor areas, for the sanctuaries, for the bioreserves, for the tiger reserves, for the elephant sanctuaries. So I think that is one key area where a lot of thrust has to be given. In terms, first is not only education, then successfully get campaigns, projects, particularly people like you will have a major role in getting these corporates to fund these projects or keep going these things, because I don't see government spending more money on environment and forest. Environment and forest has become doing only two major, this might be sounding a little bit of allegations, but as a senior journalist with 20 years of experience, I know what the departments are up to. Either they are promoting tourism, or they are giving NOC to devalue or to reduce the impact of our forest. Any construction activity, immediately give NOC. Any industry, give NOC. So the department's work has become to regulate all kinds of illegalities through a legal way. And there are amendments and acts and rules coming into the parliament for the sake of some corporates and some companies. See, what you can lose, what you cannot lose defines. I think the fundamentals and the basics has to be. There are some 48 people now listening to this. I think people, we are only 48. I think this number has to go on a compounding effect. This number has to increase. We have a role to make people more understand. We need quality of life. We are not, what do you say, substandard people. So protection of elephant, protection of tigers, protection of whale sharks, all these things, definitely it is going to give you a payback, and it is going to come back as a improvised version of our lifestyle, more healthy days rather than getting hospitalized. See, there is a connect between one and sometimes we're talking about COVID. During the time of COVID, lot of zoonotic infections were discussed. This animal, if it is showing one particular thing, immediately culling, then immediately sterilization. But what happened after that? Except medicinal point of research, finding drugs, there are a lot of things. But are we studying the elephant behavior in detail? I was talking about Dr. AJT Johnson, other side. I was talking about Ajay Desai. But we need more scientists like that. We need more celebrated people like that. I think they should also come forward, because the problem what I find with the conservationists is they don't open their mouth. They either is shy of a media or scared with the media. Media also needs a lot of ideas, a lot of teachings. For example, we are always open to hear from the other side, so that our knowledge and fundamentals is increases, so that we can talk to the policymakers. I think a lot of research, a lot of education first has to be stepped in. Then the concept of money is not the issue here. The issue here is the understanding of the forest, I would say.
No, absolutely. I think it's very important, firstly, to bridge that gap, that communication gap that is there between conservationists, the forest department, the media, because it's only through bridging that gap is when we can actually collectively put out that message to the public, which can be more productive and more in a way more positive for them to also imbibe, and also for hopefully from the conservation front as well would benefit the animals in question. Moving forward, I think Koteshan sir, you had a presentation. Would you want to, because we are also running a little short on time, so
I think some of the points I have covered. Maybe I think we can take the questions.
Do you want to skip to the questions, or you want to quickly go through?
Maybe I'll quickly run through it.
Quickly run through that, right? Okay.
Yes.
Just
yeah.
Second. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks for the thing. Yeah. Next slide. See, this is one case of Operation Malay, where media was completely focused on 6 days of coverage. One particular landscape in Eastern Ghats, Thiruvannamalai. From there were some lot of conflicts, and the local media started reporting about it. Then the forest department took a policy decision to shift away all the elephants from that area. Some 6 to 7 elephants, a herd was completely taken away. Now this was reported, but what next is that, what is the ecological loss of Thiruvannamalai? So Thiruvannamalai soil is going to miss that elephant dung. Thiruvannamalai soil is going to miss that, the transfer of micronutrient minerals from one place to another, which can be largely done only by the elephants, that cannot be replaced. So these kinds of the reporting after that is missing. Next slide. See, this is, as I said earlier, a lot of technical aspects and things has to be taught to the local media. So when that is being given, not only to the local media, I think even for students who are taking up scientific studies, I think NGOs and government should go give them some sort of the scientific temperament has to be given. Once when that is being done, I think the quality of media reportage will increase. At the same time, the quality content which comes from the YouTube social influencers, that will also increase gradually. So the way you look at an animal before doing these reels and TikToks and things like that, and with some kind of education, it is completely going to change. So that is what I think, the quality of the reportage has to increase, or the quality of the content has to increase. For that, education is very crucial. Next one. I said that the impact of elections. See, this is one key area which we don't work on, or we don't discuss about. there is a stress in one particular area, there is a stray of that elephant in that area. We only micro monitor that elephant. We tranquilize that element. The department tranquilizes. It puts into a crawl. Then it is converted into a kunki, or sometimes it is shifted into a zoo. But what is a problem in that region? Is there overpopulation, or is there the combat that is happening between the group? What was the elephant some 10 years back or 5 years back? We don't go into the details. For these things, I think you need people who are specializing in animal behaviors. You need to have people who are into wildlife biology in the department. Next. See, this is one classic example of this elephant. Particularly, it was portrayed as a very bad animal on all those things. Nobody went into there was this elephant was very silent for some 3-4 years. There were no cases, nothing. Suddenly, it started attacking people, and it was termed as a killer elephant on all those things. As I said earlier, no detailed research study. This was something which happened in a foreign country. For example, there was an orca in a marine aquarium. It started killing people in a very designed format because the orca was ostracized from its family some years back. Something has gone into that. Though it behaved like a friendly manner with the trainer, its intention was very clear, and it is being it's a research subject. It was published in various international journals. Whereas in India, we don't look into these cases individually, so that we will have some holistic data at a larger point of time. Next slide, please. See, this is I think we have discussed about this. What defines sensitive and what is responsible reportage? I think this question is not only for the media as such. This question is applicable for any content provider. He can be a person who is making a presentation, or he can be a person who is going to the Tahsildar office and giving a complaint about wildlife conflict and all those things. So I think a lot of this door-to-door sort of a campaign, or some sort of at least events for kids, I think should be done, so that the sensitive is thin. Then the responsible reportage, I think the media organizations, when they are going overboard, or when they are factually giving a kind of wrong content, or when there is flaw in their story, or maybe they are symbolizing an animal particularly in a very bad limelight, I think NGOs or government organizations should approach the particular media organization, and they should step up the saying, boss, this is not the way you sensitize it, or this is not the way you label an animal in the bad limelight. Because the forest department or the special task force people are mostly trigger friendly. Rather than capturing a wild tiger, we like to kill it. So we like to do that encounter, whether trial is not, whether sometimes we don't even know whether that is the correct tiger or not. So that kind of problems are there. So for that, a lot of interactions has to be there. Next one. So this is a classic headline. So no respite in rogue elephants, conflicts, Kerala. So Kerala or Tamil Nadu or maybe South India, we have a culture where we love elephants. We respect elephants. We see Lord Ganesha in elephants. So that is how the people are things. But what happens, what forces the people to give such headlines is the continuous horror tale which starts collecting. So the people have the concept of gossips. So a lot of gossips going, this elephant when comes, it can kill people, this, it did that, then it came on that day again, then it comes again after 3 months on the same day. And even movies are also like taken on these cultures. So what happens, this seeps into the society, this seeps into the young minds. And so finally, the person sitting in the desk or person handling the page will be forced to give a headline like this. Next one. I think the impact, I think we have discussed about the role of what kind of, because what happens is when slowly this starts, people start hating wildlife. Once when wildlife is removed there, or wildlife, there is a scarce for wildlife, the quality of forest again goes into a very bad shape, thereby affecting the livelihood of the people who are dependent on our forest. For example, if we take Tamil Nadu, we have around close to 40 districts or regions. So every district or a region is dependent on a forest or a river for their drinking water needs and other requirements. So where I'm going to get that? So the impact of losing the forest or the key flagship species has to be spoken out again and again until it reaches the ears of policymakers. Next one. See, this is one thing about what I have covered earlier. So you can see how about the temple elephants and all these things. The next one. I think we have discussed some of these things. So I think this is another subject. Maybe we'll discuss about later. Yeah. So over to questions. 1 minute, previous slide. I'll just run through that. This Palar, because it's little. See, this is two stories, important stories. One is about the walking fish, which turned up the Nagapattinam coast after the Gaja. So after a cyclone, how the ocean bed reacts, how the sea bed reacts. Because we have seen this Balaptalam, we have not seen this earlier, but people used to talk about this mudskipper presence in Rameshwaram and Kodiyakare, all those belts. But when I went there for a 10-day study, but we were able to look at these particular fishes, they were turning up in large numbers. So what exactly happens? What is, because this is a particular, this not only is an interesting subject, but for youngsters, when they're given this as a subject, it increases their scientific temper, because this is a fish that can breathe air away from the water. This is a fish which can climb for some 3-4 feet to the trees and all those things. So this fish literally has a structure like that of a limbs. It literally walks. So it, for example, if you can tell youngsters or teach kids about these kinds of species that are there, so their scientific temperament, their understanding about wildlife and ecology improves. And the other slide is about Pala River. So this is, we are talking about the river, the contamination that the river is carrying along the North Tamil Nadu districts, including Chennai. So this mineral that has to be essential part of the water is missing. So you see more lead, you see more cadmium, then the minerals, the proportion is completely changed. So who can bring back this proportion inside? If you see, if you ask me, it has to be spotted deer, it has to be your wild boar, it has to be your elephant, then it has to be your gaur, Indian gaur, because these has the capacity to chew those grasses, break those molecules, bring those greeneries back into the manure, and that manure enters into the soil. When it is mixed with the rainwater, the chemical combination happens, and you get a quality drinking water. So thereby addressing all your problems. This is a very latest scientific research studied by Vellore Institute of Technology, where they connected the human problems that we face in the body with the quality of the drinking water. So quality of the drinking water is a major issue, and these animals do have a major role in repairing the contaminated water water bed I see. I think I'm done with the presentation.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Moving to the question answers, again, we're a little short on time, so we'll try to cover as many as possible. But to begin with, we can maybe again talk about what. Just give me 1 second. I can just go back. So, Nishad Venugopal had a question regarding how the attitude of people towards animals affected if some media or reporters use language like name calling, that we've already covered that. But in a way, what is the way to rectify such things? So I think we've already sort of answered that. But if there's anything else you would like to add to that, do let us. Like, if you would want to take this question, Koteswaran, maybe. Or
Okay.
anything else you want to add? Because I feel like we've already covered.
Yeah, we have see this name calling and taking selfies and photos. These are two major issues I see with the social media. Particularly, we can, as a responsible stakeholders of conservation, I think we should reach out to the celebrities, asking them not to take pictures with the wildlife in close quarters, like petting a reticulated python or playing with an elephant or footballs. All these things. What happens is these are misconceptions. So immediately people or kids think, okay, elephant is a subject which you can go play, fool around. It's not like that. It can be a disaster. It can literally create a havoc on a particular day. So you have to not only love the animal, you have to respect the animal. And sometimes people, particularly in Middle East, you see people having tigers and jaguars at home and taking selfies and reels. And these are things, is a major issue, and these things are going to go. So as people see these things, they are also going to try, because it's a digital era. People don't know what they are doing. And these social media, WhatsApp forwards, all these things make people go crazy and gaga over it. I think maybe we should urge celebrities first to stop this crap, because it's sending a very wrong message. The message should be to respect the animal and love it from a distance. Or if you are so passionate about it, become a scientist, become a veterinarian, become a bird watcher, become a herpetologist, study the animal. It's just taking selfies, celebrating wildlife, going to a forest screaming. These kind of madness has to be stopped. I think all the participants, including myself, I think we are losing in that angle. I think we should start look forward for that, addressing that.
Okay. So there is a question from Mr. of Mystery, who's asked, do we have data to draw some correlation between elephant conflicts and corridors? Do most conflicts interactions arise within so-called elephant corridors?
No, WTA has written a book on this elephant corridor issue, which has everything. Based on that, only the Madras High Court cases were filed, and there is a progressive thing happening. Of course, the Forest Department is working on that. Last time, when me and Kotishwaran, when we met the State Chief Wildlife Warden, Mr. Srinivas Reddy, he was talking about the studying of corridors that is happening in Tamil Nadu. We asked him specifically when it will be completed, whether all the identified or recommended patches of forest will be declared as corridor. He said, we are studying it. It will take a longer time. We cannot define a timeline within which it will be completed. So it is happening, but it is literally, in my opinion, it is happening little slowly.
Okay.
What do you add something?
No, sir, I think you're correct. So there are data, there are some sort of scientific studies thing. The thing is that is not coming into open public domain access, because WTI sees it as a protected document. It's more valuable for them. And also when a petition is pending before the court, common people don't have access. But my interest here would be like more such research, more such studies are required, because India is blessed such a diversified country. We need more such studies, in-depth studies and analysis on that, so that we can have a better conservation practices, scientific practices, I would say.
Okay, thank you for that. We have a question from Sagnik Sengupta, who says that they represent SAGE Foundation and has been working with human-elephant conflict in Orissa and Maharashtra. Their question is, why doesn't the media highlight the compensation aspect and given that they're working on ground, they feel that the right to compensation on time will decrease the hatred among communities. So is there a case where we do sort of highlight the compensation part?
See, this is a very important point. So Ms. Sagnik has raised, I guess, Singupta. See, the problem here is the compensation is like a temporary solution. So a family which is affected, or a farmer who is affected by crop raiding elephant, or a elephant that has killed a particular person, they are in a very what do you say, angry mode. So they are in a state of burst out. So to sort out that, the compensation has been announced. But if you see in long term, how many, because the conflict deaths has been increasing. So how many families you are going to compensate? Then at one point of time, people may not be okay with the compensation. So that hatred towards the animal is there. So this concept of coexistence, in some areas it is practically possible. In some areas, practically it is not possible. So where it is possible, where it is not possible, compensation, yes, it provides an interim relief. But if you ask me that as a long-term solution, I won't say. See, whether any policymaker or any politician, will he behave the same way if his kids or if children die in an elephant conflict? My question is that. So this is something you want to address it, give a interim solution. But the actual problem is not set right. See, Forest Right Acts we have. So it says that there has to be a school for a tribal person, there has to be a community hall, there has to be a certain kind of basic amenities, primary health center, that is there. Forest Right Act gives you that. But while implementing it, there are issues. So the tribal life is also not sometimes taken care. Sometimes what happens is, there are tourists or there are other settlement people who go settle there, and these are not tribal people. They don't know how to behave in a forest. For them, elephant is just another animal. It's just like a bigger size that of a cow. So these people, they don't understand. So where is the issue? It's a complicated issue. So then focusing on the compensation, I think the concept of forestry has to be completely understood, and foolproof mechanism has to be arrived, so that we can reduce the conflict. Where areas, as we one discussion was to avoid the forest during the dark hours. So to what extent we are going to convert our forest into villages or towns? That is the question. I think the forest areas are slowly becoming like towns and municipalities. That has to come down. From municipality, they have to go to village panchayat. From village panchayat, they have to go to remote areas. See, one time, we cannot have the 5G mechanism and Internet of Things inside a Mudumalai jungle and also expect the tiger to be friendly there with the tribes. That is not practically feasible. But that is what the government is trying to do.
So there's another question by Dr. Harsha, who said that the community that is largely affected by elephants during seasonal migration on a regular basis are using traditional or crude methods to alarm the rest of the, say, villagers, community members to mitigate human-elephant conflict. So they suggested people need to be facilitated with some sort of alarming system or training that will help them. But I think there are early warning systems are in place in a lot of states, but and I think even with like someone else has also pointed out that even as WTI as well has installed a sort of aniders, which are sort of detection mechanisms that sort of help deter elephant movement, like not movement, but of course, which helps reduce HECs, human-elephant conflict. In Pilibhit, this is something that we've introduced, but I think this is definitely something that there are systems in place. But Opali sir, do you want to maybe elaborate a little bit more on this?
Yeah. Kotishwaran already mentioned about this in his, while he was talking. This NCF, Valparai-based NGO, they have done a early warning system. As he rightly said, there will be a red light indication, which will be in a common place in the T estate area. So when there is a red light blinking, automatically people, those who are seeing it outside, they'll also get a alert message on their mobile phones. It's SMS. So this helps them to avoid going out after dark. It indicates that the elephant is moving towards their area. So avoid coming out after dark. There's one of the successful systems which is in place at least in the last 20 years. There's a classic example which can be emulated, number one. Number two, there was another mention in the chat that most of the incidents of human deaths are mainly due to the casual walking without realizing that there is an elephant movement. So when this kind of technology is used for alerting people, asking them not to go out, it will certainly help in reducing the human-animal conflict.
Okay, I think we will have to wrap up the questions. But for anyone who does have more questions, please feel free to reach out to WTI. I will, and we'll help you answer the questions through Opali sir and Quotation sir as well. I'm just going to add that email ID on chat box. But just give me 1 second. And yes, so if anyone has any queries, please do reach out to us. And once again, thank you everyone for joining us today. We're extremely grateful to Asian Adventures and Mohit sir and his team and the Global Wildlife Fair as well for facilitating these webinars. So we have been doing these on a regular basis, and this has been sort of a platform for us to talk about various conservation related aspects, especially when it comes to elephant conservation as well. And once again, thank you so much, Opali sir and Kotishan sir, for coming here and speaking to the audience today. And again, everyone, all our viewers as well, thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. And thank you so much for your questions. I think that sort of is a reason why I think to have a conversation starter, this is something that we definitely look for. And I think the more questions that come into, the more questions pop up, I feel that that's one of the more positive signs of people asking and questioning things on another level, which is definitely what we are also aiming to sort of achieve. So once again, thank you everyone and have a good night. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arnita. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Koti.
you.